What is Brat?
Brat.
Macro Summer? Brat. This is Brat Summer, and she is in her prime right now.
Know anything about this Brat Summer thing, Majiki?
Yeah.
I know that it's supposed to be a Brat Summer, but what about Good Girl Autumn?
So there's no questioning that Brat by Charli XCX is definitely the summer album of 2024. How did she achieve this status? That's what we're gonna look into today. Because it's more than just a good album, it's more than something that people enjoy. It's the marketing that brought it to where it is today. To start with a timeline of what has led to Brat's success. Charli's last album before Brat was Crash in 2022, and that did pretty decent, but it had kind of a cult following for already existing fan base. So Crash itself had an interesting concept. The way that Charli XCX herself described it was that it's her sellout album. What she means by that is that her previous songs and sounds before Crash were kind of more hyper-pop alternative style, and then this was her like major album with Atlantic Records. She kind of leans more into the pop idol phenomenon, but she's like self-aware throughout the process of it. And that drastic change that she leaned into self-served as the marketing for that album. The difference between Crash and Brat is that Brat it still had self-serving purpose, it was still rebellious in nature, but it kind of went all out on the marketing and made a specific image for itself. Crash didn't really have anything associated with it. I think Brat was successful in part because of Crash's existence, because while Crash served as a large change, at least the way it was marketed for Charli XCX, Brat kind of serves as the opposite direction, where she goes back to her alternative ways. The whole essence of being a Brat, what Charli coined the term to be, is that rebellious nature. And that is just a popular theme with the times and resonates a lot with a Gen Z audience and queer and female communities. So fast forward, like 2024, we're kind of starting out releasing the singles, teasing the release of Brat. I think maybe Von Dutch was the first to come out, and that had a music video that did fairly well and started generating a lot of hype for Charli XCX. And in a strange way, Addison Rae, the TikToker, I'm sure you know her, helped kind of generate some hype for it, because she was at a point in her career where she's like moving past the TikTok star thing and moving into the music realm. People are kind of scrounging for any information on her and kind of interested to see how she's developed. So when she collaborated with Charli XCX featuring on Von Dutch, and a TikTok of her in the studio, like just trying out stuff, it did generate hype for the song, and then in turn for the album, in turn for Charli XCX. And this was grave foreshadowing for how much collaboration would affect the success of Brat and Charli XCX's upcoming music. Since Crash, there hadn't been much news on Charli XCX. Of course, her fan base was still lively as always, but after going viral with Addison Rae and dropping the music video for Von Dutch, there was also the viral sensation of Charli XCX's Boiler Room set. So what is a boiler room set? It's an overall term kind of used to describe a very intimate, exclusive set. It's basically just a room with the DJ and large crowd. And that's what Charli XCX's Boiler Room performance was. There was 25,000 plus RSVPs for her performance, and there was a lot of different celebrity guest appearances. It was just a wild success, and she dropped a lot of teasers for her upcoming songs. There's just a lot of people talking about it, a lot of internet buzz on it. So I'm not sure exactly how many people attended. They filled up a warehouse though much more people were interested in it. And that kind of fear of missing out in the partying, clubbing, DJing scene was talked about a lot. It was kind of like, you know, Berghain, the club. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I probably did though, so. But Berghain, people kind of rave about it because it's so exclusive and there's not much video or photo from it. This one, it was more well documented, had that like air of exclusivity, and then like the few photos and videos from it, kind of the first instance Charli played every songs off of the Brat album. Past that, we had various surprise performances that were similar in exclusivity but not really announced in advance at all. This has been a popular way of marketing albums, just like teasers and drops like that, kind of making people look out for the next available time that they might be able to hear some more on this artist that is going to release music that they like coming up. However, this is all resonated with her pre-existing audience for the most part. Brat was successful because it roped in a wider group of people, but we'll get to that. So again, I think this tactic resonated more with her pre-existing audience and fan base. However, she made a private Instagram account called 360_Brat. Of course, we know what that's in relation to. The type of posts on there, they were kind of vague, but still spoilers for upcoming projects and everything. Just like little teasers. Because what she did was still kind of like teasing her upcoming album but making it exclusive and like generating hype through that. She would unprivate the account and then private it, unprivate it, private it, kind of let in different followers at different times. Just got people talking. I've heard she posted on her story, the main post that people were like dying to get into the account to see was just various aesthetic images. I don't know if it really has anything to do specifically with her songs, but the captions definitely do. One of them was Guess Who, which is teasing the song Guess. One of them was People Say We're Alike, They Say We've Got the Same Hair, which is obviously Girls So Confusing lyrics. She had another post that said, It's not finished, there's no release date, don't ask me. I think that's just her speaking to the public. It just gets people talking about it kind of as if they're conspiracy theorists. There was a lot of people talking about the captions and posts and what they might mean and what they might imply for the album. There's a common theme here, creating exclusivity, kind of generating hype through that. And then, drum roll, next big plot on the timeline is 360 dropping. So 360 was released May 10th compared to Brat, the album, dropping June 7th. There was a good amount of time for the song to get popularity. It is one of the more played songs on the album. People just enjoyed it as a single, definitely, and it got them excited for the vibe of the album and what it might be like. And she came out with a music video for that as well. I think was a great move. Von Dutch's music video was pretty popular, and I think 360 did even better. Just had a lot of visuals that resonated with her audience. 360's music video was pretty successful, not only because people were anticipating the song, the reception was pretty good. People still really love 360, it's one of the more popular songs on the album, but people also loved the music video, and also generated hype through the fact that, I'm sorry if I'm saying hype too much. 360's music video was also successful due to the casting of the girls in it. There was a lot of celebrity appearance such as Chloe Sevigny, Julia Fox, which is also referenced in the song. So even if they're not like the most A-list celebrities, it's still kind of Charli XCX's brand of niche internet cool girls, as has been described. So it kind of started developing that like alternative feminist theme of Brat. So this helped start creating what Brat is. And of course, there's the famous Brat wall that was live on TikTok. Yeah, the Brat wall is fun. It's something that people can interact with. There was various people I remember seeing crashing the live, just like showing up at the location. And luckily they weren't like too disruptive. They could have like fucked up the camera or something, but no, they just like stood in front of it or chill. But yeah, it was just like this fun, creative way, teasing the album. It had like the announcements come up slowly over time, so people kept checking on the live. And people just scrolling on TikTok would see it and be like, oh, what's this about? Yeah, it was a nice way to interact with fans. There was a little vandalism that I find funny, but you know, it's not for everyone. But even that is like creating dialogue around the Brat wall. And later on, it was used to announce the collaboration with Lorde, as well as the release of extra songs on the album, before a message of okay, bye, and then it getting painted back to whatever color it was before. It lasted a pretty long time. People were excited about it. It's just really fun. Brat is released, like instantly takes off, and people love the album cover. Of course, they were already hyped about it when they saw the Brat wall, but just the simplicity of it came together great. It was really easy to turn it into something marketable, also something that people can self-identify with and kind of identify other fans as kind of niche of the internet. And it was like humorous in a way, because if you changed your profile picture like so many did to the Brat album or some variation of the design of the album cover, then people were kind of curious about it. It was like a big inside joke. Charli XCX kind of leaned into this by creating the website, and yes, she created it. I did not know that it was done by herself, but it makes a lot of sense. She created bratgenerator.com not too long after this, and it was just like an easy way for people to kind of edit text into the style of the album, and people are still using it. It has a lot of use, honestly, if you're going to create content out of this album. Sure beats looking up the font name and going into Photoshop or something with it. I think that was a really smart move because it created this wave of UGC, user-generated content, that was in a way natural. Like, of course you had like brands hopping onto it and stuff, and I'm sure the brands that jumped on the Brat train, kind of creating these text memes to get into the in-group of people who are in on the joke, were not so organic as the user-generated content. But it was still pretty successful because at first people didn't really expect brands to get into something like this, to participate in it. Brat very quickly got universal acclaim. I think the Metacritic score was 95, and that was like the highest for any album released in 2024. And of course Metacritic's review just like made it even better, so this is like kind of an audience of music snobs listening to it as well. Do you remember Anthony Fantano's review of it? Kind of saved himself with that one because there was a lot of hate going on. But yeah, so Brat was crazy, and it's still going, which is the insane part. And of course, it has to do with the collabs. At first, Lorde collabed with Charli XCX on Girl So Confusing because that song was about her. And Charli, the whole lore behind it, which many people know by now because they've talked about it and everything, is that Charli was trying to reach out and tell her about this song and about the album, but they just didn't really connect. And they've just had a bunch of personal issues and stuff. And it ended up being because of Lorde's mental health situation. To say it plainly, Charli wasn't aware of this, so they kind of they worked it out on the remix, and it was just like a really touching moment. And I think it was one of the most sincere moments of the Brat marketing, because this is like, a lot of the Brat marketing is organic in the way that people are hopping onto a trend, but the trend was definitely specifically manufactured to be successful. However, the Girl So Confusing remix, at least from what I can see, was not planned at all, and they kind of just went for it, and it was just like a nice touching moment that Charli XCX's audience felt that they got to be a part of, as well as Lorde's audience. And it just humanizes both of them so much more, which creates a personal connection and a personal kind of warm feeling towards the album and towards the song. And then way later down the line, when I was under the impression that Brat was dying down, Charli announced a collaboration with Billie Eilish on Guess. Not to be too critical, people really enjoyed it, especially since Billie is leaning into her queer identity on it. But me personally, I think it's not as good as the Girl So Confusing remix because it's just more forced. Like, I can just picture, like, I have nothing against Billie Eilish, and I, in all honesty, don't really listen to her. I know she has a big fan base, and of course that contributed to the success of their remix and furthering the success of the Brat album, kind of combining those audiences. However, while the Lorde collab was like so organic and heartfelt, Billie's collab just kind of felt like an afterthought. So yeah, nothing against the Billie Eilish collaboration on Guess. It just comes off more like they're trying to milk the success of Brat and of Billie Eilish and of what they can both reap from this collaboration. Definitely less disguisable, something organic. I mean, let's be honest, as much as you love either of them, the music industry is about money, it's about popularity, everything. All of this marketing is for the success of the album, for the success of Charli's fan base, for the success monetarily. So, you know, even if I praise Lorde's collaboration with her and how it was successful, in the end, that was also for success, for money, just like Billie's, just like anything else having to do with it. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's just always how it's been, always how it will be. Charli herself has criticized like the whole sellout thing with Crash, so she's very well aware of it. I think her album and all of this having to do with Brat is definitely more sincere than many other musicians, and I applaud her for that. At least by how she portrays her morals and how she cares about her art. It seems that way. So that was the timeline of Brat and its release. Now let's talk about the marketing specifically and what makes Brat such a marketing success. So first off, the pre-existing fan base is a great layer for any successful release of an album. So there is a decent amount of time between Crash and Brat's release. Crash was still successful enough of people craving more of her music, while the gap of time between it, people really intrigued to see what she would come out with next and really eager for more music on her part. So in between Crash and Brat was a single, Speed Drive, that Charli XCX made for the Barbie movie, and we'll talk more about the Barbie movie in a little bit. But that also, just a little tease of her music and of her sound that had people clamoring for her. And while her pre-existing fan base created the base for this, her exposure in the Barbie movie also helped gather new people in. Speed Drive is one of her most popular songs on Spotify, so it definitely brought in a lot of new people and a lot of people gaining interest in her music and her sound. The other part would be anticipation. The lack of music released was enough to get people like kind of antsy to hear from her, kind of excited, and more reciprocative towards the teasers that she would drop. We're gonna talk about the Barbie movie now. I haven't seen anyone really talk about this connection, but I feel like it's worth mentioning that this is summer 2024, it's Brat summer. Last summer, summer 2023, was Barbenheimer summer. And some people may even argue it was just Barbie summer. And I think the success between Barbie and Brat is so incredibly comparable. People have definitely died down talking about the Barbie movie now because I feel that movies are not as, especially modern releases, are not as like long-term. Like people will continue listening to Brat over and over, but people aren't gonna rewatch Barbie for months and months on end. Barbie was very successful in marketing because they had an insane amount of collaborations, and Brat did the same thing this year, even if it's like more subtle. And I feel that the difference kind of is Barbie's collabs were more so before the movie came out, which makes sense because, you know, the release week is the big thing that you're building up to, while music you kind of have to continuously advertise and just like advertise the album itself rather than the release period. I mean, Barbie had an insane amount of collabs. Some, for example, would be with Lush, Cold Stone, Crocs, various makeup brands, Burger King. I never got to try the pink burger, but there was more than 30 collaborations for the Barbie movie before it was even released. There's kind of a similar theme between Barbie movie's director, Greta Gerwig, and Charli XCX, where they're both like creating something that for like the girls and gays, should I say. And I'm using that term because that's kind of like the audience that it's like very popular towards. I know it's outdated, I don't know what else to say. Of course I'm using it ironically. And then there was criticism towards Greta Gerwig, her Sellout movie, which is very similar to what Charli XCX talked about on Crash. So I guess maybe in a way it's good that Charli XCX got Crash out of the way,
and due to that she was able to avoid criticism on Brat, even though it is very similar.
I mean, all I'm saying, I'm not saying Brat is a sellout album, I'm saying that both Barbie and Brat just went super hard on the marketing, and I think Barbie got a little bit more talk about it. Brat has been more organic with the marketing because of it being like sprawled out over time and not as jarring to see all these collaborations before it even released. Most of Brat's marketing and collaborations came out after some of the singles released, especially after the actual album was released, so it just seems natural. I think it's definitely worth talking about that Barbie and Brat have a lot in common, and it's very funny that Charli XCX had a song featured in the movie. I think there's a lot to learn. I think summer, the time of release for Brat and also the Barbie movie, is also a very important thing because it's kind of a cultural lull in energy of the times. A lot of people are out from school, maybe taking a break from work, on vacation, and a lot of people are also bored at home, kind of looking for a theme, some energy to get out and do stuff, some energy to connect with friends. And that's what Barbie was. There was a bunch of collaborations, people were excited to be a part of it, even if it was a branded thing, even if they did know it was just for promotion for something, they were excited for the actual content as well. And that's the same with Brat. A lot of people like participating in it and being part of this cultural thing, especially for a set time period of the summer. Brat summer is a super popular phrase now. People were anticipating the release of Brat as well, and then even after, they want to feed into it and just have fun with it. And I think it's also interesting that both Brat and Barbie have like their themed colors and visual branding. Barbie's color was a hot pink, Brat's color is a bright green. When you want your audience to kind of self-perpetuate branding and kind of self-promote your content, you're gonna have to have specific theming, whether it's visual or political or anything. And what made Brat and Barbie successful is that they had this color, this kind of feminist theme, almost political theme, just made it really successful and really enjoyable for the audience to participate in. And it's kind of a thing of rebellion as well, which can also tie into Barbie, because Barbie's rebellion is that, oh, it's a girls' movie for girls. Of course, it's a movie made for profit, but it still is relevant with the cultural themes of the time and generational themes. However, it transcends that and also creates like connection between women regardless of age. I would say that Brat is a little more specific to Gen Z because you can't really convince an older audience to like a new genre of music compared to convincing them to see Barbie with you. Brat's major theme is rebellion. That goes hand in hand with the feminism aspect. It makes for a very fun, like party girl summer, which is something that people strive for anyways. And especially in the era of micro trends and like people are always looking for something new, whether it be clean girl, coquette. Right now it's Brat. And while it is dying down, it was a really popular theme for people to want to base their summers around. Back to bratgenerator.com, Barbie also had something similar where they had a website where you could generate your own Barbie movie poster, and that was very popular, at least for around the time of the release of the movie. It had a lot of people creating content, a lot of people wanting to hop on the trend, and even brands were getting into it, so it's very similar to the Brat generator thing. I think a lot of the brands handmade their Brat promotional material because you just can't like get on board with the absolute minimalism of the generator. It still goes hand in hand because they see these memes circulating online and they want to get a hold of it. And then it's the same thing where the audience of consumers sees these businesses participating and thinks, oh wow, that's crazy. Like it just generates business for everyone involved. Back to Brat specifically, other than the Brat generator, there were some other forms of interaction and trends that people participated in, such as the Apple dance. However, it did not take off organically, and this is something that people know, but it's not really widespread knowledge because it was disguised to be just like a TikTok dance. So TikTok has these promotional things sometimes where you can sign up for it, you can create a video, and if your video gets enough views or likes or something of that, monetization for this trend. So you see a lot of like bigger influencers that you wouldn't suspect listen to Charli XCX participating in this Apple dance trend because of this promotion. And with their pre-existing audience, they know that they'll likely get paid for their content, so they just go for it. And that's what kind of kicked it off, because a lot of people saw this and didn't know that it was a paid promotion, and especially since it didn't say ad or anything. And then they participated in it, and it just kept like circulating. And people would have participated in it anyways, but I think a lot of bigger content creators, videos dancing along, helped take it off its feet. The other points I'd say were just spamming social media, spamming brand collaborations, just nonstop. This marketing team did not rest. It's crazy. And looking into it, Atlantic Records has a big marketing team. I'm sure a lot of them pitched in for this. And they were very smart to get brands involved because of this term called reactive marketing. Brands who they didn't directly collaborate with saw the hype generated around the album and created content for it. And even Kamala Harris's team got in on it, which is crazy. Brand collaboration with Brat helped generate hype for the audience, and then that hype for the audience generated reactive marketing on the end of other brands that weren't even directly involved with her, and it just keeps going, and apparently still is. And now there's the collaboration with other artists and celebrities, which has always been present in Charli's marketing, but now it's even more so. But who is behind this crazy marketing scheme? According to a post that she made a while ago, that was just like a funny haha thing, she tweeted about it and created a YouTube short in which she leaked marketing ideas sent to her, and they were all just like kind of outrageous and humorous. Because they've kept it kind of under wraps, there's not many people, or any that I have found, saying like, oh yeah, I worked on this with Charli XCX, I worked to promote the Brat album. Regardless, currently, Charli works very closely with her marketing team, and she has like a personal relationship. So she can definitely receive kudos for the marketing success of Brat, because I'm sure that she has had some say in the collaborations and promotions that they've done. Congrats to them. Snap, snap, snap on working on the Brat marketing, because you guys did fantastic. Oh my god. I'm sure working with celebrities and music artists, you kind of have to keep it under wraps anyways, so really digging up any information about them specifically has been a really hard task. But in conclusion, the success of Brat is no coincidence. It has been meticulously crafted by the marketing team and by the brand and Charli XCX herself. It's always fun to be a part of this kind of like pop culture movement. And I really do think that Brat has a lot of fun concepts and ideas that you can be a part of. Also, if you're Atlantic Records watching this, maybe hire me to market for you.